time. Remember when you guys came in here and we set up our EasyBib account? Yeah? You remember it?
Yeah.
You do? Mm-hmm. Okay, how do you sign into EasyBib? With what?
With your first initial, last name, and then your
birthday.
What?
Yeah. And then your email, and then for your password, it's your email password.
When I'm logging into EasyBib, I'm logging in with my Google Gmail address and my Google password. Okay, so if you forget that, that's going to have a really big impact on your ability to do this project. So you log in, you go to login, you don't go to register anymore, you go to login, right? And you're going to pick Google, and you're going to log in with your Google information, your Google Gmail, your FSAstudents.org Gmail address, and your password. You got that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so Mrs. Ray should probably getting emails about that, right? I forgot how to log in. All right. So we're taking this project in chunks because there's a lot of little pieces, but we're going to keep building on these pieces until you have a complete project. And so the first chunk was setting up our EasyBib accounts and talking about how you do citation. Can I have you please move out from underneath the table and not hang on it? Thanks. So that was the first bit. We talked about why we cite and how we're going to use EasyBib to help us do citations. This is the rubric for the project you're going to do. So we're kind of doing like a mock project, like a pretend project. So you've got your EasyBib tool. Now you need a topic to research. And Mrs. Ray is going to let you pick a topic. She has a list of topics that you get to pick from. Everyone will pick a different topic. Nobody's going to work together on a topic. You're not actually going to write any paper. You're just going to do the research piece of it so we can get, like, flex our muscles and do a little working out, stretching out about how do we do research, all right? So that's the piece we're going to work on. So each piece of this project is going to get scored on your rubric. The first thing you're going to get scored on is the quantity of information sources. And remind me again, what's an information source? Raise your hand. Thank you. I'll wait till you're finished yawning.
Where you get it's like where you get your information from.
Can you give me a source? What would be a place to go to get information?
The LMC Wiki.
LMC Wiki, and I'm specifically probably looking for what on the LMC Wiki?
I don't remember the name. It's like modern history thing.
Yeah, the databases, right? So we have modern world history, American history. We've got Student Resource Center, InfoBits, Kids InfoBits. We have World Book Online, right? Exactly. So those are some sources of information. What are some other sources of information I could use for this project, or any project when I'm doing research? I mean, it's great that you remember the LMC Wiki, but what's all around you? Let's see some hands up. Yep.
You could go to Wikipedia and look at the sources that they used and go to those.
So you're saying go on the internet and do some searching?
Yeah.
And if you landed on Wikipedia, you'd probably go to the bottom of the page first and see maybe what kind of sources were used to build that page. Okay, that's good. We're going to talk about that in a minute. What's all around you in the library?
Books.
Thank you. So books, YouTube videos, you can do images, what else? You can do interviews with people. There's all kinds of different sources. Okay, information sources aren't just what's on the web and just aren't what's on the LMC Wiki, although I'm really glad you brought that up first because that's good programming, good schema. All right, the next thing, so on these quantity of sources, we're going to score you based on how many sources you use. To get the maximum number of points, you're going to want to use 4 or more information sources. Can it be the same information source? It should be 4 or more different sources. What do you think? 4 or more, and they can't be the same one. You can't cite something, the same thing 3 times. We want 4 or more information sources. So if you give me 4 or you go to 5, and they're really good places, because you're going to put them through a CRAAP test, which I'm going to show you how to do in just a second, and they score between 44 and 50 on your CRAAP test, then you're going to get the full points. You've used 4 or more information sources. All those sources are credible because you put them through the CRAAP test, and like I said, I'm going to show you how to do that in a second, and Mrs. Ray's got her hand up.
Oftentimes when I was doing projects in 3rd grade, a number of students would come up to me and say, I found so much information on this one website. Can I just use this for all my sources? If you want to score the higher score on the rubric, you're going to choose 4 different sources.
At least 4, right? So if you use only 3, and they're only mostly credible, you're only going to get a 2, right? So you see how the rubric keeps working your way down to people who basically don't even really try. Right? So now the last thing we're going to score you on is we're going to score you on your works cited. And that's what we talked about last time we were together. We're actually going to build a works cited. We're going to have a works cited of the sources that we used. You can use EasyBib to help you build that. That's what we want you to do. And then it's going to have to be few to 0 errors. So the format of the citation has to be correct, and there can be few errors in that citation. So now EasyBib's a great tool, and I love it, and that's why we're going to use it for at least the next 3 years. But it's still going to be your job to check the citation against a cheat sheet that we're going to give you to see if there's something missing. If there's something missing, it's going to be your job to tell EasyBib to put it back in and then regenerate the citation for you. If you cannot find missing information, if you truly cannot find it, then you need to let Mrs. Ray or I know or somebody and say, I really couldn't find it, and here's why, right? So you can always put notes in your bibliography and your works cited saying, this is the best I could do with this one because maybe I couldn't find a certain piece of information. But we'll tackle that when I see you guys next time, because we'll actually work on building the works cited, right? So this is what it's going to take to get the top round of scores here. So you're really not going to write a paper. We're just going to do the research piece. Do you guys all understand that?
Yeah.
So like for me, I looked at your list of topics and I took Barbie. So I've been researching Barbie. So I'll show you how I go through that process, and I'll show you how I built a works cited from my Barbie stuff, all right? And that's going to be the thing we do next time. So today I want to talk about CRAAP testing your sources, okay? And we're going to do a little hands-on thing where we get to go work on the computers and you guys actually get to work through a CRAAP test together as a team. All right, so some people always ask me, it's kind of like, why do we have to cite? Well, people say, why do I have to evaluate my sources? I mean, if somebody wrote a book, they wrote a book. That's got to be right. I mean, they got to be experts. If somebody put up a web page, you can't just put up any old web page, can you? Can anybody put up a web page? I'm saying yes. I'm saying no. No?
No.
Have you ever put up a web page?
Yes.
Are you just anybody?
Yeah,
And
but
you
not,
did it.
but not exactly everybody. Not if you don't have a computer.
I'm saying, could anybody theoretically put up a web page?
Yes.
Right. I can build web pages. You can build web pages. Has anybody ever put a comment on a blog or built a blog? Or have you ever been on social media like Twitter or Facebook? You put stuff up there, right? So everybody can get on the web. There's a way, pretty much, for everybody to do it. Just because I can put something up on the web doesn't mean the thing I put up there is accurate or credible or reliable, right? So there's tons and tons of pages out on the web. I mean, we're talking so many pages they can't even count them anymore. They don't really know the full depth of the web anymore. So anyone can create a web page. If anybody can create something, that means I probably have a lot more stuff out there that's not so great than the stuff that is great. So our job is to find the great stuff. No internet librarian exists. Mrs. Midler does not exist. There's not a version of me looking at everything that everybody ever puts up on the web. Videos, images, websites, blogs, tweets, Instagrams, clerks, all that stuff. There's nobody who looks at all of that stuff. And that's a problem because, again, anybody can put up anything. Now, everybody says, well, Google gives me really good results. I can go to Google and I can get great results and I can find stuff really fast. And that's true. Google is really good. They're exceptionally good at what they do. But what they don't do, and this is what a lot of us forget, is what they don't do is they don't check for the quality of the stuff they put up there. They pick their websites based on popularity. How many other websites point to that website? Okay, that's how they do it. So how many people vote for that website? Okay, so keep that in mind. It's all based on popularity. Now they do some other checking. They check how many times a word is mentioned on a page that relates to that topic. There's a lot of other stuff that Google is doing to rank the page, but it's not like somebody sitting down and really putting something through a CRAAP test, which is what you're going to do. So does anybody know how Google actually does it? How they figure it out? You do? How do they do it?
They use a system called the spider system, I think, and they it's like a web that connects every site together and finds the best site and the sites that are linked to that site.
Okay.
And then the sites that are linked to that site, it lists them too.
You're close. They use Spiders, and Spiders is the name for their little computer program that goes off and looks at the site. So I'm going to show you a video from Google that tells you how they actually do it so you can learn a little bit more about it.
I remember watching this. We watched this last year.
Oh, it's the best video.
Hi, my name is Matt Cutts. I'm an engineer in the quality group at Google, and I'd like to talk today about what happens when you do a web search. The first thing to understand is that when you do a Google search, you aren't actually searching the web. You're searching Google's index of the web, or at least as much of it as we can find. We do this with software programs called spiders. Spiders start by fetching a few web pages. Then they follow the links on those pages and fetch the pages they point to, and follow all the links on those pages and fetch the pages they link to, and so on, until we've indexed a pretty big chunk of the web, many billions of pages stored across thousands of machines. Now, suppose I want to know how fast a cheetah can run. I type in my search, say, cheetah running, speed, and hit return. Our software searches our index to find every page that includes those search terms. In this case, there are hundreds of thousands of possible results. How does Google decide which few documents I really want? By asking questions, more than 200 of them, like, how many times does this page contain your keywords? Do the words appear in the title, in the URL, directly adjacent? Does the page include synonyms for those words? Is this page from a quality website, or is it low quality, even spammy? What is this page's page rank? That's a formula invented by our founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, that rates a web page's importance by looking at how many outside links point to it and how important those links are. Finally, we combine all those factors together to produce each page's overall score and send you back your search results about half a second after you submit your search. At Google, we take our commitment to delivering useful and impartial search results very seriously. We don't ever accept payment to add a site to our index, update it more often, or improve its ranking. Let's take a look at my search results.
Okay, so literally, they have 200 or more steps they put a website through before they add it to their ranking. But the most important part of their 200 steps is how often other websites point to that site. That's still the most important thing. So let's say I wrote the most amazing, best ever, most factual site about cheetahs, but nobody points to me. No other websites know about me. Wikipedia doesn't know about me, nobody knows. Is Google gonna find me? Well, Google might find me, but it will take it a very long time. Will I rank in the first 3 ranking positions? Probably not, because I don't have a lot of other people pointing towards me. So I'm not gonna be seen. And that's a problem, because if I have the best site out there, do you guys want to find that site?
Yeah.
Because your teachers want you to find that site. We want you to be experts on your topic. We want you to find the very best resources, all right? So that's really important. So Google's great at what it does. I love Google. Mrs. Ray loves Google. Raise your hand. Don't you use Google?
Yeah.
Do you sometimes just look at the first 3 results on Google?
Yeah.
I do that too. Sometimes. But what I also notice is if I look really hard at those first 3 results, I'm going to notice that probably the first result's coming from Wikipedia, the second result might be from Yahoo Answers, and then there's probably a third result that comes from some other .com or .net or something like that. So I'm always going to take the time to push down on the page and see what other pages came, and I might even actually, and I know this is kind of a crazy idea, I might even click next and next and next and see the 3rd or 4th or 5th page of results, because there might be something there that's really useful, all right? So now Google is getting better at being a little about how the quality of the site, what the quality of the site is, but it's still not the same as you sitting down and really looking through it and putting it through a CRAAP test. Now I'm giving you 5 things to look at, not 200 things like Google does, all right? Okay, but I've asked you to move out from that table. Now it's the second time. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is that content is not updated very often. If you think about the millions and millions and millions of web pages that are out there, do you think everybody has time to go in and update them all the time? How many sites do you think have been abandoned over time? Tons have been abandoned, or links are broken. So a lot of people build sites and they just kind of give up after a while. And I'm guilty of that. I have a couple of websites that I don't keep up to date. I have a blog, and sometimes I'm really good about putting a new entry in, and sometimes I don't remember for like a really long time. So content isn't updated very often. And for certain things that you're going to research, you want to make sure that your site or your book or your magazine article is current. Because things can change very fast with certain topics. I mean, think about the human body, the things we're learning about our planet, the things we're learning about the planets. Those things tend to change very quickly. So you might want to make sure that you're looking for things that are updated regularly. And then there's this whole part of the web that Google and you never see, and it's called the invisible web. And the invisible web kind of looks like this. So if you think of an iceberg, you think this is Google up here, and all those great search engines like Bing and other places, and they do a really good job of searching. But then there's a whole layer we never see of the web because Google can't see that content. Those are those great websites that that's not very popular, so people don't see them. Think about the LMC Wiki. What do you have to do to get to access those resources? What do you have to get there? Right, Google can't get past passwords. Spiders can't crawl past passwords. Those are firewalls, they're protected. So there's a protected site, so it can't see it. So think of all this information you're never seeing if you only use Google or a few of the search engines, all right? So this is where we want to get to. I want to get below the iceberg, okay? I don't want to run into it, get my hull ripped open and, crash and sink, right? I want to use this, I want to get around it and maneuver it and use it to my benefit. That's what our goal is, all right? So keep that visual in mind. Now, so here's the CRAAP test. It's pretty simple. The things that I'm looking for when I visit a website, or I have a book in my hand, or I have an article, or I'm doing an interview, or I'm looking at a YouTube video, the first thing I'm going to look at is how old is it? How long has it been around? When was it posted? When was it published? When was it last updated? Those are things I'm going to be looking for. I'm also going to look at all the links. If it's a website and there's a whole bunch of links, I'm going to test the links, because if a lot of those links are broken, and that was what the person was using to back up all the stuff on their site, then those sources aren't really available to me anymore. So I'm going to question that. Nobody's been updating it. And I want to make sure that the stuff isn't out of date. Like I said, if you're doing research on planets and you come across Pluto and it says Pluto is still a planet, is that a really recent website? No, because Pluto's no longer considered a planet, right? So those kinds of things. So time. So think currency. Think time. Currency isn't dollars. It's time. All right. So now I've got my C. All right. That's the first thing I look for. The next thing I tend to look for is relevancy. And relevancy is kind of tricky. It's sort of like, does this information really apply to my topic? You know, I got to this place, or I found this book. Is it really, truly going to help me with my research? Is this really going to apply to me? And who's it intended for? Was this written for a third grader, or was it written for a PhD student? So I want to make sure that what I'm reading, I can actually understand it's been written for me, so I can actually apply the information. That's really important. And the last thing I always ask myself for relevancy is I always say, well, if I do put this into my works cited, am I going to feel comfortable with it? If Mrs. Ray comes back and she asks me questions about it, she kind of pushes me on it a little bit. Hey, let me see that site. Are you sure you should be using that site? And if you even feel like she's probably going to say, this wasn't a great place to use, or a great book, or a great source, just don't use it. Move on to something else. And that's kind of a feeling you get in your gut. You've heard of gut feelings before, right? You get that feeling in your gut, especially after you've done this a lot, and you start to think about it, and you start to get in a habit of this. You'll be like, I'm going to pass on this one because I just don't think it's going to hold up. So relevancy is really important. So I have my C, I have my R, I need an A, and this is authority. So one of the things I always look for also, sometimes I do this probably quickly, is I try to see who is responsible for the website, who wrote it. Can I see an author? Can I see a sponsor or a publisher for the website or the book? I want to make sure it's somebody reputable. I want to be able to backtrack things and find out where that person came from. So sometimes what I do is I actually take the name of the person who I see on the website and I Google their name. And I see, oh, did they have any other websites? Has anybody else ever talked about them? Are they writing papers or doing anything else on the web? So I kind of like this detective, you know, I kind of work a little backwards. Now the thing that you're probably thinking is, man, how long does it take you to look at a website? Do you think it's taken me like a minute to look at a website? No. And this is what we tend to do. Sometimes, especially on the web, you guys look at a website, okay, that's it, I'm ready to go. You're going to notice when you start slowing down and applying the CRAAP test, you're going to spend a little time reading the website. It's going to slow you down. It's going to make you think. You're going to have to read. You're going to have to look for things. So it's going to take you more than a couple of minutes now to analyze any source, a book, a magazine, a YouTube video, anything. You're going to have to slow down and really look at stuff. And this is good. You want that. You don't want to just breeze through this stuff. That's not the way it works. So make sure you understand who wrote it, and you can see if they have qualifications. See if there's an About Me link, or there's a bio page that says something about that person. So you can look at it and say, oh, look, they graduated from MIT. They have a degree in astrophysics. And yeah, this person seems to know what they're talking about. And I can't compete with your Velcro. Thanks. So the next thing is accuracy. How reliable is the information? If I hit a website and in the first couple of sentences I see typos or grammatical errors, or something's not, it doesn't sound like it's written very well, like they're just not very good at writing, I'm skipping it. I'm not even going to give them the time of day, because it means that person really didn't think hard enough about what they were doing. And if you're really somebody who wants to be an expert on something, you're going to take the time to get it right, to do it right. It's really important. So reliability, accuracy and reliability. The other thing here that's really important, it's the hardest thing to do when you're looking at sources, is pick up bias. Does anybody know what bias means? To be biased about something? No idea? Want to guess? Yeah?
Modest.
I'm sorry?
Modest.
Not modest. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
To be kind of against something?
Yeah, you can have a leaning one way or the other. You know, so bias is when the person who's creating this particular source wants to get across their viewpoint. They want to kind of sway you one way or the other. Somebody in the last class said had a really good analogy for it. They said that, you know, maybe they really, really want you to vote for a person for president that they really like. Are they going to say anything good about the other candidate, or are they going to tell you only good things about their candidate? Right, so they have a bias. They want you to vote for their candidate. So websites do this a lot, and sometimes it's really hard to pick up on. So that's why it's always good to slow down and see if there's any bias. If there's bias, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it crosses the line at some point, and then it becomes more opinion than fact, and that's when you have to slow down and really think about whether you want to use that particular source or not. And this is something that takes a long time to do. I mean, it's taken me years to pick out bias. So you guys are going to start doing it now. You're going to start practicing it now, okay? The last one, of course, is purpose, and that gives us our P for CRAAP, right? So purpose is opinion or fact. You're going to get to certain sources, and it's going to be okay. You're going to say, wow, this is somebody's opinion. I mean, they really have strong opinions about some things. But if they have a lot of fact to back up their opinions, that might be a worthwhile site to go ahead and cite. Or a book might do it, or a magazine, or a journal article, or you see a YouTube video. You just have to be aware that it's there and figure out how you're going to use it, all right? But bias, I mean, more opinion than fact is always a little bit of a problem, so that's just something you have to get used to. And Mrs. Ray pointed out, I guess, on one of the tests that you guys take, on the NWEA test, it asks questions. It makes you read some passages, and you have to determine after you read it on this test, was there bias or not in that passage. So this is something you just have to kind of keep practicing and be able to recognize. And so you will get tested on it during the course of your whole academic career. That's going to keep coming up and again. Okay. So that's the CRAAP test. It's only 5 steps. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you guys a worksheet. It's called the CRAAP test. You're going to actually get this for your project. It's going to look a little different because you're going to do it electronically. You're not going to turn in a piece of paper. But the CRAAP test has a section for currency, relevancy, authority, accuracy, and purpose. And it's going to ask some questions. So when I put you guys into teams and put you on computers, I'm giving you each a website, each team a website to run the CRAAP test against. And you're going to go through it. One person's going to drive. They're going to be the person who actually walks you guys through the website. Somebody else is going to call out a question. Hey, can anybody see a date on that website? Can anybody see when it was last updated? And then you get to the next one. Is this information, does it look like it's, I don't know, does it look like it's the appropriate reading level for us? Can we handle that? Would I be comfortable using this on a research paper? And you're going to give a score under each element for the CRAAP test, a 1 through a 10. If I give it a 1, that means it's not very good. If I give it a 5, so-so. If I give it a 10, excellent source. And then you're going to add them all up, and you're going to get a score at the bottom. Does anybody remember on the rubric, what is the score we want you to give your sources to get maximum points? 44 to 50, right. So if all we have time for today, because if we run out of time, if all we have time for you to do is give a couple of scores, that's fine too. We'll ask you kind of what you thought. The idea, though, is to be able to complete a CRAAP test for every source. And you're going to have to do this by yourselves on this project. This is our chance to kind of practice it and do it together, okay? But you're going to have to do that for yourselves, okay? And like I said, it'll look a little different when you get to it online because we're going to try to do this all paper. When we actually do this project, it'll be all paperless, okay? So that's where you're going to get teams. Somebody's going to drive the website, and someone's going to be calling out the questions, and then you guys are going to try to rate it. You're going to work together. And when you are done, and I call time, I'm going to give you guys each one of these a pen, and you're going to put your score right here, and I'm going to ask you to hold it up. You know, like, have you ever been to a gymnastics event or a diving event, and they always hold up a score? So that's what you're going to do. You're going to give me a score, okay? And that'll be in just a second. But I want you to make sure that you understand how to be good CRAAP detectives. And you get to say CRAAP, 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 CRAAP. It's so fun to be able to say that. And then I want you to watch out for some things. Watch out for your domain. Look and see where your information is coming from. Domains matter. Every single one of these are different kinds of extensions, like .edu. What's that going to be from?
From education.
Could be a university, could be Flagstaff Academy kind of thing, although we're .org. But yeah, .edu usually means an academic site. What about .gov? Government. What about .mil? Huh? Does anybody know? .mil is the extension. Do you know what it is? Military. Okay. And what if I see a .com? What does that usually mean?
Commercial.
Yeah, commercial. Usually want to make money, right? Now, domains matter. It means that every one of these you have to kind of look at, and you have to say, okay, even though it's a .org, and they're trying to sell me something, and this is a government site, and it's supposed to have a lot of facts, and it's an academic site, which usually means they're not out to make money, they just want to teach you stuff. Every single one of these could still have bias, all right? Nobody is immune. Like I said, every time you sit down and write something, some part of you comes through. So you always have to make sure that there's no bias. But just keep an eye on it. .com's commercial, usually trying to sell you something. .net is sometimes associated with .com because the person couldn't buy the .com, so they buy the .net, all right? What about .uk? Right, so you'll see also extensions for countries on things too, which is fine. Again, just make sure you take your time and run your CRAAP test through it, okay? Run it against the CRAAP test, okay. I know I keep saying that word. All right, so the other pitfall on the web is, again, bias. I cannot stress this enough. You have to watch for bias. And it really means prejudice in favor or against one thing or a person or a group or something like that. So people sometimes really want to get their opinions across. They have very strong opinions, and that will be bias. It doesn't mean you can't use it. It just means that you have to do a lot more work to validate what that person's saying, to make sure you separate the opinion from the fact. That's really important, okay? Content farms. This is a really big problem on the web. It's the way people are trying to get around Google's ranking system. So what they do is they pay people to put answers up to questions. Remember I told you this story last time? There's some guy who's a surfer all day and works at a hot dog stand out in California, but they pay him $20 to come up with answers and put them on Yahoo Answers. And so that's kind of a way to cheat Google's system for ranking things. And so content farms, you cannot use those as sources. Wiki Answers, Yahoo Answers, you cannot use those as sources. And if you aren't sure if you have a content farm or not, stop and ask somebody, okay? And we'll tell you. Hey, can we do the organization later? Because it's really distracting while I'm talking. Thanks. So content farms, tricky. Watch for them. The other thing you have to watch for are sites that are built just specifically to trick you. They're called hoax sites. So Dog Island and All About Explorers and Mankato, Minnesota are 3 really good examples of websites that were built just to trick you. They're going to look great. You're going to think, man, this looks really good. I'm going to get all my answers here. This is fantastic. But if you really sit down and put them through the CRAAP test, you're going to see that they're not sites that you can use. But they're built very much to fool you. Okay? So if you want to go check these out on your own, just go when you go home tonight, put in Dog Island or All About Explorers or Mankato, Minnesota, and you can see what I'm talking about. So now what I'm going to ask you to do is actually apply the CRAAP test. Do you have any questions about anything I said? There's a lot of information. You sure? Everybody's good? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I set up the computer stations, all 3 tables. Each one of them have a website on them. I'm not going to tell you anything about the website. I'm just going to give you the worksheet. I'm going to give you the pen and the place to use your score. You're going to appoint somebody to be your pilot to navigate the website. Somebody's going to be the scribe to write down, call out questions and put a score down, and you're all going to work together. And I'm going to set a timer, and then I'm going to ask you guys to give me your feedback when you're done, after how you did on your CRAAP test. So what I'm really looking to find out is, do you have a really good site, or do you have a hoax site? Okay? Is this a true site, or is this a hoax site? So the only thing you have to work with is the CRAAP test, and that should get you through it. So you got that? All right, so I'm going to let you guys work. Ray's going to put you in groups.
I'm going to give you this so you can finish. Sit. No, sit. Okay, so what's going to happen here is you're going to get, I'm going to put you in groups. And we'll see in just a minute. One person is going to be the scribe. They're going to be responsible for this. On this paper are questions. Now, you're not going to have time to go through everything. Remember all these boxes right here?
Yep.
You have to give it a score of 1 to 10. Ladies, 1 being, 10 being, okay? So you're going to kind of look at these questions, whoever is driving on the computer. So let's say I give this to Connor, and he's got it, and he's on a computer with Natalie. And Natalie will say, all right, let's look at the first one. It says timeliness of information. Let's see if we can find a date. On a couple of websites, kids saw that the date was 2005 when it was created, and it was updated 12 years later, or 10 years later. Okay, so you have to decide, is it worth using that website if they only update it once every 10 years? Okay, some of the questions are the links functional? So what do you got to do when it's your turn? What does that mean, are the links functional?
Or the links work.
So what do you got to do?
Click on the link, see.
Click on them and see if they work. You might even want to click on them and see where they take you. Do they even take you someplace that's important to the website you're looking at? Because you're going to get on a website. The kids in the other class scrolled to the bottom of the page and found the author. They copied and pasted the author, and they did a Google search on the author, and they found some really unusual information. Helped them make a decision about their site. The next one says, the importance of the information. Is it at an appropriate level? If you pull up something that's meant for Ms. Goodmanson's class, are you going to use it in your research? No, because that's kindergarten. Okay? If you pull up something and you open it and you know I'm coming up behind you, are you going to close it because you think it's a crummy site, or are you going to keep it? You're going to rank these sites. Okay? All right, so I'm going to put you into groups now. One person's going to get this. One person's going to drive. The person that's driving needs to read the site to the Not everybody can do this right now. There's only 3 computers. But it's really important that you pay attention to this, because guess what? Next week you're doing it by yourself. Okay?
For every single source that you use.
All right? So I'm going to put different people together. Ashlyn, Connor, and Natalie. Okay? Connor, that's your job. Ashley, you're the driver. You can share the driving responsibility with Natalie. And you guys can use this computer right here.
You have 2 that you can use right here. Okay? And if you just shake the mouse, the website's ready for you.
Abby,
Scroll up.
Angel, and Jamaica. Jamaica, you're responsible. Angel, you're the driver. Ashley, you're this person right here. We'll get you Abby, sorry. We'll get you the, and you 3 right here. You 4, come here.
When was this information published?
Okay.
Yeah, we are.
You 3 go on the back computer back there. Okay, and you guys are together right here. Okay, Sean's the driver. You're responsible for this. I think we're good.
Good.